Okay, I've now started the knitting of the slanty hat, and you can see that this is the top, this is the will go around the face, and you can see why I call it a slanty hat, because basically what you're doing is increasing on this side and decreasing on this side. Note that I have changed colour at the side which is going to have the crown attached later on. This means that it's easier to get rid of the bits. That's the other side, and this pattern, which you might remember from old, is one that is equally good, different but equally good on both sides. So it is ideal for something where you're going to turn the brim up, and it makes the stripes go nicely. You can see the various balls of yarn. This one that I've just started goes there. What I do is I put my balls in a row, and then I know I can take them back and keep them in the same order. Now with the stripes here, I'm not sure how well you can see it, but I am deliberately not having the stripes exactly the same width. When you do stripes, either you need to do them the same width or notably different widths. What can look wrong is slightly different widths, so just be aware of that. You can also see here I started with waste yarn. I'm intending to graft the two ends together at the end. You don't have to graft if you just want to make a seam. That's dead easy. Instead of casting on with waste yarn, you just cast on with the first colour you're using, and then at the end you cast off with the colour you're using, and then just sew them together, but the choice is yours. The other thing to note here on this, the slanty hat, is when you're measuring, you need to measure the edge there to there, not that bit there, from there to there. You can see that that bit is shorter than that bit. Okay? And those of you who are mathematicians will know about Pythagoras and what have you, and that's how you can work out what you need. I'm going to continue then with all 6 colours. I'm making a hat for me, so I'm wanting it 18 inches long, this bit here, because for hats I reckon you need about 2 inches of negative ease. In other words, you want to make sure it's snug, especially places like here where you've got lots of wind, and you want them to be nice and snug, so that you can don't have to worry about it coming off in the wind. Once I have finished the brim, I'll then be picking up along this edge. This is the one way we've got the changes of colour. Now you should be able to see there that I have used on both edges, I've used at the beginning of every row slip one purlwise. That gives this nice edge where it makes it so easy to pick up stitches, and basically you pick up either that one or that leg, the front leg or the back leg, and the other leg will leave a line. Now you can do it to have the line on the right side or the line on the wrong side. It's up to you. I tend to think what I'm making and what it's for. With a hat, I think I'm going to use the inside, the ones towards the back, pick those up there so that I have that line of stitches on the outside, but I may change my mind. Now that I've finished the hat brim, I'm actually going to work out now what colours I'm going to use for the mitts and what colour for the top of the hat. First thing I'm doing is I'm working out the weight of each of the small balls. That's the last one to be done, that's 10 grams, and writing them down here. That then tells me what might be best for using for the brim, the crown of the hat, and for the mitts. Now, what I'm going to do, in fact, as I'm going to be fairly tight on amounts, I'm going to make the fingerless mitts first. Now, I think probably what I will do is, those are the remains, those are the balls of wool that I've got left, in the order they were used on the brim. And I think what I will do is simply split them and make one mitt from those and one mitt from those. If we look at the brim here, you can see how that's the right way. You can see how that will make one mitt there and one mitt of those. They will be what's sometimes called fraternal twins. In other words, not the same but using the same colours. And again, when they're worn with the hat, it'll be quite clear where the colours come from and why they're being used together in that way. I'm thinking aloud, deliberately, wondering whether to split the greens, but I think not. I think I'm going to like those. So now what I will do is I'll make up the mitts. Once they are done, then I will use the odds and ends of yarn over to complete the hat. It doesn't take very much yarn, and we'll just see what I've got and take it from there. Right, I have got this far on with the mitts. Now, I know my head knows full well I have plenty of yarn here, but also I'm playing yarn chicken, which I don't like doing. So what I've done is I'm doing both at the same time, and I've decided, I think, that I'm going to change round which colours go where, and I'm going to put that one there and some of the green here, and maybe some more of both green on there. There's this left over from there and there's this left over from there. My intention right from the beginning has been to use this for the bit of ribbing at the top of the mitts, and I'm sticking with that. But as I say, I think what I will do is I'm going to swap that one onto there and put some of this on here. Well, I've finished the mitts and I'm very pleased with them, but that's all I've got left of these colours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose something else to make the crown of this hat. Now, I've got various options. I've got quite a few, that must have been a set, I think, of new 20 gram skeins in double knitting. And then I have got these which were left over. They're mainly semi-solids, and fairly solid semi-solids. All of these are DK. So the question is, what colour am I going to do the crown? Now, the crown isn't actually seen a lot on this hat. Your eye is taken by the brim, But what I want to do is decide which one I'm going to use. Now, let's look at these first. There are some here that are definitely wrong. That, for example, and again, I'm sort of looking at how the colours have gone in these. The brown and the greys, I don't think are right. I don't think the pure red is right, nor the red and orange is right. So you see, I'm gradually bringing it down. I don't think the yellow is right for the top of the, and I don't think that one's right. So we're left basically with these three. Now you can see all three of them go very nicely with this. The colours in here are obvious, and the same with this one and with that one. My feeling is that I want to keep the eye onto these colours, so I think I won't use that one because it's too light and it is too obvious. And now we're coming down to those two, and for the same sort of reason, I think probably, I was going to say probably that one. That one works as well. No, I think that one, there's the bits of red in there which really don't go. So if I'm going to use a new skein, that's the one I'm going to use. But is there anything better over here? And I always keep odds and ends of bits of yarn. All of these Rainbow Fusions, Karina Skelton's dyeing. So because they're all from her, she uses the same ranges of dyes, and therefore they're going to be similar colours. There's various possibilities here. That one goes quite nicely, doesn't it? Oh, that one. Or that one. My eye's going straight away to that one. If in doubt, if you're not sure, usually your first impression is a good one to go by. And the question then is that or that. And then it's a question just of looking. And again, as I usually do, I will sit and look at this for a bit and decide which one I think is right. Now then, I've come to the point of picking up stitches from the slanty bit of the hat to make the crown. Now, if you look at the two edges, you can see that's the one where I've made the yarn overs. So that is the nice pretty edge which will go around the face. This is the edge where I've done the decreases, where I have changed colour. So this is the edge that I'll be picking up. Now then, I have on both edges done the slip-on purlwise first stitch, and this then makes it very easy to pick up what is in fact every other row. You can either pick up the back leg of the stitch like that, along. If you do it that way, then when you first knit it, you can see you will go into the back of the stitch. In addition, as I talked about earlier, you can see by picking up the back edge, I will end up with this line there, which you either like or don't like. You can have that on the right or the wrong side. So if you pick up the back bit, you will be needing to knit into the back of the stitch when you come to knit your first row. Equally, you can pick up the front leg, and in exactly the same way you can see there now that if you pick up the front of the stitch, the front leg, then you knit into the front of the stitch the normal way. If you do it like that, you don't get the line across there. The line is at the back. Either is as good as the other. It doesn't make any difference. Do what you want to do. Now, when you come to a join of yarn, you can see there, just carry on as normal. Make sure you leave your yarns at the back. Once you have done the knitting up, you're then you can adjust the size of the loops by adjusting and finishing that off properly. These here, I've just knotted one round the other as we go along, and then carry on all the way along. Now, when you do this, you are picking up one stitch for every 2 rows. Now, if you're using garter stitch, or if you're using a stranded technique, then the numbers will correspond with the numbers you need, will correspond nicely to the numbers you pick up. But here, where the gauge is not square, what we're going to have to do once we have picked them all up is then work out how many we have on the needle, how many loops we have on the needle, and then how many stitches we want, and then we need to increase or decrease on the first or second row. I'm picking up with a needle that is smaller than the one I'm going to use. It's always much easier to pick up with a smaller needle. And again, note I'm using addies for this because I don't want a super sharp point, because that will split things. Right, we're nearly there. 1, 2. Oh, come on, that's it. And then there's the end one, and I'm actually going to take that one for now. Now I've got to work out how many stitches I've got. If you have got a large number to extras to pick up, like we have here, then it is perfectly acceptable to knit twice into these stitches to do it. So knitting twice into the loop. That can look odd if you're only adding on a few stitches, if you're only adding on, say, 10. In that case, the best thing to do is to pick up from the row below, just pick that one up and use that. Right, well, I've found out that I need 114 stitches. I've got 58, so I need to pick up an extra 56. Now that works out very nicely. I'll do a single one for the first and the last stitch, and all the others I will knit into twice. So, something I always say is start finishing before you start knitting. So I'm going to leave enough there to sew the seam up if I decide that's what I want to do in that way. So I'm knitting into the back of the stitch. That's the first one done. Just going to pop that round to anchor it so it doesn't get too big. Now then, first stitch like that. We then need to make a second stitch into it, so I'm purling the second one. That's because that's the easiest thing to do. Well, here we have the finished set. These are the mitts. Now I like my my fingerless mitts to fit pretty close. If you want to have more ones with more space, then just do the size further up. Those then are the fingerless mitts. Now this is the hat. You can see there how the slanty pattern works, and you get these bands of colour going all the way round. You can see that. I think it's quite effective. You can see in the top here what I did in the end is I used all three colours in the end. I used the green there, the purple and the orange, which again are both in there, and then I did rows of using the last bits of the speckled ones there and there and there, and it hasn't been blocked yet, but there's a nice warm hat and fingerless mitts for me for winter.